All right, folks, it's been a couple of days since I've had the truck unloaded. We got it off the trailer. It's sitting here on the ground, a little easier for me to work on. I guess I was wrong. This is a 351 Cleveland engine. I'm not exactly sure how I had it wrong before, but it's definitely a 351 Cleveland. That's what this tag right here says on the side of the engine. What we're looking at today is the carburetor. That's me pulling the linkage for the pump to pump the carburetor. I don't know a lot about carbureted engines, but we have an electric choke, I believe, here. It doesn't actuate very far either. So in an effort to do this inexpensively, we're going to take this carburetor off and rebuild it, loose terms here. I want to get it freed up to make sure it can be used, and we'll use it to start the engine and see how it runs. If it runs really poorly, we can get a rebuilt carburetor or come up with a different way of running this. But for right now, I just don't want to put any money into this until I know it runs. Like I said, when I bought it, I made sure it turned over. So we jumped the solenoid over here, and the battery cables are really poor. So before we get any further on trying to start it, we got to make new battery cables. And then we'll start looking at the ignition system. But for right now, we're going to focus on getting this carburetor off, see what we can do to get this removed and maybe freed up. Probably go through kind of like my four-wheeler video and clean the carburetor up some, try to get it to function, at least get the throttle portion working, because right now it's not going to work at all. But we're going to get some lines off and see what we can do. All right, I got the carburetor off. It's a Ring manufactured carburetor. Let me see. So somebody had replaced it once. I don't know if you guys can see down inside there. It looks super clean, and by super clean, I'm saying that in sarcasm. That looks absolutely terrible. And here's the intake as well. You can see that there's this powder. But it doesn't look, I mean, it's rusty. Let's not say it's perfect, but I think if I get the vacuum and sweep it up, it'll look okay, and we can use it for what we're trying to do. So let me get the vacuum and try to clean that up and see what that looks like. I found this this bolt inside sitting right there on the intake. I'm not really sure what it's for. Pretty short little bolt. We'll keep it for later. I guess this is probably the kick down. I thought that was the throttle, but the throttle is laying right here. The throttle was disconnected. I don't know who disconnected it, but this is probably the kick down for the transmission. So I don't know. I had to cut this fuel line. I'm not really surprised. It was as hard as wood, not very flexible at all. I think what we're going to do out here before we call it good is stuff some paper towel down the intake here just to keep it good. This is that throttle spacer gasket guy. It doesn't look too bad. It's not very soft. It's got a lot of buildup on it for different things here. But we'll leave that on there, and I'll get the paper towel and close off the intake just in case I get any critters here in the barn trying to get into the engine and make a new home. I don't want that. Alright folks, so here's the carburetor. Again, I don't know if you guys can see, it's pretty pretty terrible down in here, real dirty, real gummed up. This linkage is not working. The main butterflies down here are rusted shut. I mean, daggone, they have rust right there. It's got a lot of buildup. I'm sure some of this is old gasoline. Again, this story is this truck was parked in 97. That's 1997. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put all the parts in here in the carburetor cleaner. So I'm going to try to take out everything, try to not break any gaskets, try to get it out in one piece. There's a plug that's just disintegrated. So I guess we got to plug that one back off. That was plugged already. And we got to try to get this thing moving a little bit. We might end up putting the whole body in here piece by piece. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's our fuel filter. We need to get all the pieces out that we can, get all the pieces off that we're not going to dip, and just, you know, generally get this thing cleaned up because it's in pretty poor shape for the most part here. So all right, folks, back on the 77 Ford F250. It's been a little while here for me to get parts and kind of get around to what's going on. So this thing's moved around. Before it was on top of my trailer. The trailer's over there. And we worked on getting the carburetor out, and the truck itself had to get shuffled to this position just because we got stuff going on. Got to get ready for winter here soon. But as you can see here, we've got the engine without the carburetor. So I took the carburetor off to clean it, and you know, if you'll be able to tell that great, but this is a new remanufactured carburetor. When I took the other carburetor apart to clean it, I could not get the throttle blades to open. Whether it's the dissimilar metals between the throttle plate and the throttle body, or if it's just you know, from sitting so long, but I could not get the throttle plates to open. Even using a hammer, I still haven't been able to get them open. I just bent the throttle blades. So the throttle's no good to me. The carburetor's no good. So we have a remanufactured one to stick on here. Also, just to kind of test a few more things before I got and ordered the carburetor, I did take out all the spark plugs. Let me see if I can get one here, as you can see. So we got, let's see, here's the car, there it is. And without too much light, they're just super dark. They got some rust on them. But I took one of these, put it against you know, the block here with one of the leads off of the distributor, and I got spark. So before I ordered the carburetor, I verified I had spark. So I had spark, so I went ahead and ordered 8 new spark plugs, the remanufactured carburetor, and I think I ordered a starter solenoid, just because this one doesn't seem to work. We had kind of to jump it with a couple of screwdrivers to get it to start, but that's not a big problem for me right away. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the new carburetor, or the remanufactured carburetor, onto the engine, and then we're going to put in the new spark plugs into the holes. All right, well, the piece of hose that connects the valve cover breather here to the back of the carburetor, probably for, you know, vapor right there, is not connecting right now. It probably needs rebent or a new hose. So I'm going to take one of these plugs for the carburetor and plug off that port so we don't have a huge vacuum leak. Because there's a pretty big fitting back there. It feels like it fit okay, maybe a little loose, but it'll be fine. All right, so we've got carburetor back on. The only thing we're kind of missing is a fuel filter, and I don't have one. So I've got the old fuel filter here, and I think I'm just going to, actually 100% this isn't the right way to do it. You should get a new one, and I probably will. I just definitely didn't think about it when I got the new carburetor. I was thinking it might come with it, but I didn't read carefully enough. So right now I'm cutting the old fuel line off the fuel filter. Get off there. Okay. So now it's off. I'm going to take and put this in. Put it on the carburetor here in a couple minutes. But I'm not going to give myself the heartache of trying to use the fuel tank yet. So I'm going to run this piece of fuel line into my testing fuel tank, and we'll get that set up here in a couple minutes. All right, folks, made a new battery cable. Cables, I'll show you the old ones here in a little bit. But I think I'm going to try to start it. I can't quite get it to go with the key, so I'm still going to use my jumping screwdriver because it's junk anyways. Let's go ahead and see if I can get it to fire up. But I guess it's going to run. Off camera, before I was able to catch it, I did this and I got it to kind of fire over by itself. That's why I know there's going to be a problem with the fuel. But I think we're getting real close here. Now, why it doesn't start with the key, I probably need to chase that back, but I'm not worried about it right now because we're getting it to run, and it's running on gasoline. I'm not the guy that's gonna tell you how to make all these adjustments and make this thing run perfect. I can tell you, we're gonna get it running just a little bit better. I think it needs a little more idle, which I believe is this screw right here. And we'll try to start it up again. It could be a gas issue. All right, let's try to run it again. That's definitely a gas issue because the temporary gas tank here is getting sucked down like a deflated balloon, but we're getting somewhere here. See if I squeeze it, keep a little pressure on it, it's going to keep running good. Still got all that old fuel in there, trying to come out just a little bit at a time. I don't think it's getting good to hear it run. Of course, there's going to be some smoke and some stuff, but it's at least running, which is more than I can say for it when I got it. Obviously, the carburetor was all gummed up and jammed up, so it was no good. But we do have it running. Let me see if I can hit it with the key now. Maybe there's some kind of issue. Well, still can't quite get it to start the way you're supposed to be able to get it to start. Around here, I don't see any smoke. The barn is really clean, so if she's not smoking, I'll probably die here again, just because we don't have a very good fuel delivery system, but it runs, which is great to see. Of course, we got a little bit of smoke there. I'm not worried about it. It's been sitting for a long time, so we can say that it runs. We need to set up a better fuel tank. This little guy's getting quite a bit of vacuum put on it when it's running. But here's the cables we were working with. So here's the positive lead off of the battery and onto that starter solenoid. You can see here, I kind of didn't do it any favors when I was jumping it, but that's how the insulation looked. This is the ground. So something was hungry, because even here on both ends, it got both ends really, really bad. The last wire, where is it? The black wire. This is the wire that went from the controlled side of the solenoid up to the starter, and it looks fine. It just looks like some tired copper, and I cut this off to get it out of a clip. But this one doesn't feel bad, but the rest of them feel very stiff, like they've been very hot and just aren't going to be able to carry the current. So at least we've got some good news out of this engine. We'll have to come up with a way to get a little bit better fueling to it, but I might have an idea. All right, let me show you the setup. So I had a little spill, but this is how I fill my lawnmower. So you have to lift up the gas cans that have those safety spouts on them, and they dump gas all over, kind of like this, but this was an accident. So I just have the fuel come out. It runs into one of these little clicky clack fuel pumps. It runs through a filter. Sorry, it comes, what does it do? It comes into the filter, into the pump, and then it goes just out. And when I fill my lawnmower, I just have this switch, so I can turn it on and fill right into the pump, right into the lawnmower. So we've got that. That should give us plenty of fuel pressure. Hopefully not too much, but it should keep the bowl full. Sounds like we're either out of power or because that runs its own battery, or we've got enough pressure against it. So it's probably just enough pressure. I think that style kind of turns off when it builds enough pressure. So we've got that. I don't think we need this anymore. And what we're going to do is, like I said, so it's got a little switch right here. You can turn it on and off. So it's got plenty of pressure right now. We need to start it, and then I'm just going to hop in it real quick. And probably before I should start it, I'm going to straighten the wheel up. That way I don't forget. All right. I'm not going to move it yet until I put a little brake fluid in, because it has 0 pedal, and I don't want to back it into my barn or crash into cameras and what's beyond the cameras. Let's see what's in here. Of course, it's nothing. So let me grab some brake fluid. pour it in there and see if we can get anything. So yeah, the pedal is so bad that when I push it down, I have to pull it back up with my foot. So I'm going to come in here and pump it up just a little bit, see if I can get any kind of pedal feel. Okay, well, it didn't go anywhere. All right. Well, that was a bit scary. Not having any brakes to control that. But we didn't crash into anything, and I didn't put any blocks up because that would have been smart. But you can see it moved. So it does run and drive. It does not stop. The brake pedal does absolutely nothing. All right, folks, well, the truck does run and drive. If you have a guess as to why it wasn't moving, go ahead and pause the video right now and leave it in the comments down below. Okay, if you guessed that I didn't put the rear axle in, you were right. When I took the rear axle out to get the wheel off, to get the drum off and all that jazz, I never put it back in, and the truck has an open differential, so all the power was going to the driver rear wheel, and the truck wasn't moving. So I put the axle shaft back in, and now the truck does move. It doesn't have brakes, which is a little sketchy, but we can say that it runs and drives. So I think at this point, you know, I think that's where we're going to leave this truck for right now. It has really beautiful patina, and I'm not quite sure what the next step is yet. But at least we know that it runs and drives. It starts really good. I just wish I could get the key to work. I'm sure it's an electrical issue because there's some other lights on, or other lights that aren't coming on in the dashboard. Maybe it's a bad ground, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure I'm going to chase it down right this minute. So at least we know that it runs and drives, and we can move forward with what we're going to do next. But thanks for watching this episode of CB Rebuilds, and I hope to catch you guys soon in another one.